Hello and welcome back to Sticky Hope Bucks Soapbox Podcast. I go by B as in your bestie in the Hope Department, and I'm so glad you're here. Now, if you accidentally stumbled into this podcast hoping for a true crime fix, the closest I can offer was the time a former therapist who worked in prisons told me my handwriting looked like that of a serial killer. Yikes. It did make me wonder if she was onto something because I stopped eating cereal around the time I started writing in all caps. Anyway, today's guest is the complete opposite of a serial killer. In fact, today, our guest Jess and I are talking spoons. In her first episode, we'll dive into Jess's top coping skills, the spoon theory, living with narcolepsy, and how she's found community and healing in the world of nerds, geeks, and book lovers.
And my results were after a 20-minute nap, after a full 8 hours of sleep the night before, I fell asleep in 30 seconds and entered REM in 2 minutes. It takes the average person like an hour and a half to enter REM cycle. So to have those numbers and say, my drive from my apartment to my college campus is 5 minutes. Within that 5 minutes, if I'm too tired, I could fall asleep in 30 seconds.
If you're new here, thank you for joining us. Each week, my goal is to offer you a little dose of hope through stories, resources, coping skills, and of course, a sticky note of the week, all in under 20 minutes. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on what resonates with you. Please follow along on socials for video from this interview. Quick but important note, this podcast is for peer connection, not professional care, and it discusses topics that may be sensitive to listeners. Discretion is advised. This space welcomes varied experiences and opinions, but will always remain rooted in kindness. A gentle reminder that this podcast does not provide medical, legal, financial, nutritional, spiritual, or therapeutic advice. Always consult your trusted professionals for guidance. And if you or someone you love is in crisis, please call or text 988 or go to your nearest emergency room. This podcast highlights people from all walks of life, exploring how they face challenges, what they've learned, and what they hope for their communities. Every guest gets a debut episode, but you'll hear from them again when themes overlap or life updates roll in. It's all part of a bigger story. Speaking of themes, this last weekend in June marks the end of Pride Month. Happy Pride, everybody! I started to come out to friends and some family at the age of 28 and publicly at the age of 30. In big part later in life because of religious trauma. But Cynthia, our first guest from episode 1, has been able to add on chapters of healing to her own story.
I think another community that I didn't really mention is the queer Christian community. And I think we lift each other up in the queer Christian community by using our spirituality to unite one another and show compassion towards our younger selves, because many of us in the queer Christian community are also part of the community because we're healing from religious trauma. I think the unique way that the queer community lifts each other up is I've been in circles of queer people that I've met for maybe the first time, and all of our stories could be so different and we could come from different backgrounds, and yet all of our stories are the same in a certain way. So that understanding of shared experience and emotional support is how we lift each other up.
The day I turned 30, I had just finished the first week of rehearsals as the lead young performer supervisor on Trevor the Musical, a Broadway tryout based on the Oscar-winning short HBO film Trevor. It tells the story of a 13-year-old boy in 1981 who begins to understand he has a crush on another boy, and after being bullied, considers ending his life. The same night I turned 30, I went to a tattoo shop and got the start of my semicolon tattoo. It's a symbol from Project Semicolon, founded by Amy Bluell, who lost her father to suicide and struggled with her own mental health and addiction. The semicolon represents a sentence that could have ended, but didn't. It means we're still writing our story. That original movie helped launch the Trevor Project, a lifeline for LGBTQ+ youth. On July 17th, the current administration ordered the closure of the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifelines LGBTQ+ Youth Specialized Services Program. This means that this program that has provided life-saving services to more than 1.3 million LGBTQ+ young people will no longer be available for those who need it. This is devastating, but there is hope, and there are resources. I encourage you to check out the links I've provided in the description below. If hope feels too heavy for you right now, I'll hold it for you until you're ready. Fear is contagious, but so is courage. I just told you about my 30th birthday, and now I'm so excited for you to meet Jess, who filmed this interview on her 30th birthday weekend. She is somebody who is also part of the LGBTQ community and has the most amazing husband who helped me surprise her on her birthday. Jess and I started working together at a theater in Indiana in 2018 on a show for young audiences. She is now a full-time production technician at a big theater in Kentucky. Jess is a white woman with long dark hair pulled to the side in a braid. She is wearing a burgundy shirt with a T-Rex holding a cup of tea, blue jeans, a watch, and a wedding ring. Her left arm is covered in gorgeous tattoo artwork. She is sitting in a burnt orange chair with bookcases of books and plants behind her. At times, we can see her adorable cats join her. Please meet the judgment-free and joyous Jess.
I go by Jessica or Jess, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
And what is your favorite color?
My favorite color is purple.
What are your top coping skills or techniques that you use in your everyday life?
Some of my top coping skills are preparation. I am like a crazy bag lady. My backpack for work has all the different things that I may need. And even though I might not open up my backpack except to get my work keys out, I know it's like that safety net. It's to say, I have my safety book, I have a snack, I have all the little items that is something small but can throw me off. Like I have deodorant, because how many times do you go through your day, or have you, and you just suddenly smell yourself and it just throws you off? So it's just like those little comfort things that are basic needs. And then another one of my big ones is decompressing. And so that can just be talking about my day with my partner after I leave work, or taking a nap, and just not changing my engagement from what the whole of my day has been, and giving myself time to come back to myself. 100% what helps me get through hard times are my people. I have to talk to people and be present with people. Also, stories. I have always used reading as a coping mechanism. There are books I have read that I remember because I picked them up or read them at specific times, because I needed to separate myself from what was happening in the real world, and just to give myself the space, time, and distance to let all of the emotions or thoughts and feelings I had just kind of exist in me until I could process them. Just engaging with different forms of media has always helped me find messages outside of myself to ground myself in. So sometimes it's been like, love Sarah Bareilles, a lot of her music, and dancing to her music, and driving in the car listening to her CDs, and being present in that music, there is a resonance. Finding Avatar: The Last Airbender, fun TV show, just seeing children deal with grief and war and find humor and adventure and friendship and communities to support them. And I think different times I find different things, but finding books that are by queer and authors of color that just deal with hard loss or realities, and having a real person, an author, tell a story through that reflects our world but is slightly different and allows you to ask questions and engage in a safe way to then learn. I think those are all really valuable.
What is unique about how your communities lift each other?
So I think one aspect that's unique about my true nerd community is the book community. And I think a unique way that community has been lifting each other up is by normalizing liking what you like and normalizing talking about it and supporting each other in saying, I'm an adult and I read young adult. That reading stories and being super intense about it is okay, and just uplifting and moving past the stigma that you can be too smart or reading puts you in a place where you don't belong with other people.
I love that answer. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Can you tell us about the spoon theory and what it means to you?
So the spoon theory is kind of a theory story that was started by this woman with a chronic illness. And the story goes, she's at a diner with her friend trying to explain her chronic illness and what's available at the table, silverware. So she says, a normal person, you go throughout your day and you have unlimited spoons. So when you go and do something, the cost, you don't really notice it. But to say you're someone with a chronic illness, you only have 10 spoons to spend throughout your entire day. Waking up costs a spoon. Getting ready costs a spoon. Driving yourself into work maybe costs 2 spoons. Going to work, a spoon or 2, and so on and so forth. It's a story that, and kind of a theory concept to give you an idea of everything you do in your day has a cost. And when you have something that kind of outside of your control, whether it's a chronic illness, a disability, something mental health or trauma related, you suddenly have less resources than quote unquote a normal person or someone who is fully able. And so since you have less resources to give, you have to be more strategic about how you spend your spoons. Growing up, there's that thing of, I'm just like everybody else. But then there are those times in your life where you realize your own differences. One of those was my health. I was diagnosed with narcolepsy when I was 20 and in college. So in high school, learning to drive, going to school, I thought I fell asleep and was as sleepy as everybody else. That there wasn't anything wrong with my sleep. I just was like, oh, I'm a growing kid. This is what happens. So I pushed through. Everybody else could do it, so I can't. I drove myself home at times when I probably was too tired to drive and got home and said, I don't remember that car ride. So when I was diagnosed, I got test results back from my sleep study, one of which being there is a nap test. And my results were after a 20-minute nap After a full 8 hours of sleep the night before, I fell asleep in 30 seconds and entered REM in 2 minutes. It takes the average person like an hour, hour and a half to enter REM cycle. So to have those numbers and say, my drive from my apartment to my college campus is 5 minutes. Within that 5 minutes, if I'm too tired, I could fall asleep in 30 seconds. And even before I'm dreaming, what could happen to me? What could I do to someone else? And to think of all of the times that I know I fell asleep driving and that I could have harmed myself or someone else. So that mental shift, when I was first diagnosed and since then, have had to have a lot of moments where I stop and ask myself, am I too sleepy to drive? Am I awake enough to be safe, to be present at the location I am going to? And in college, the nearest doctor to me was 45 minutes away. Well, that was a secondary doctor. And before that, it was 2 hours. Getting the medicine I needed was an hour drive. And so I had to learn how to be vulnerable and ask for help to be safe and to take care of myself.
Thank you so much, Jess. What does hope mean to you?
Hope means it's not an end.
That's a great answer. If you had a piece of advice or an encouraging word for someone that is going through a hard time, what would you tell them that has worked for you in the past?
Listening and talking are the two best things you can do for your mental health. Listen to other people and their stories and share your own.
Can you condense that into something you can write on a sticky note? Jess's sticky note says, "You are not alone, and you are loved." Thank you for sharing what has helped you and your wisdom, and for being vulnerable with us today. What did you all think? What stuck out to you most about this episode? Before we wrap up, I want to give a quick shout out to Will, our guest from episodes 3 and 4. He helped us spotlight men's mental health during Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. In the last episode, I quoted the Hunger Games. Hope is the only thing greater than fear. That quote encouraged me to rewatch the movies. It reminded me that small acts of resistance matter, whether it's speaking up for someone, setting boundaries, or calling your senator. Did you know that Pride is more than just a big celebration? As Pride Month wraps up, I want to remind you that it started as a protest, led by Black and brown, queer and trans folks, demanding visibility, dignity, and freedom. Pride is about reclaiming space, healing, and radical self-love. Nobody's free until everyone's free. Fannie Lou Hamer. There have been moments where fear shut me down, when I felt like I couldn't speak up anymore. But I've realized that fear doesn't mean I've lost hope. It just means I care. I've spent my life standing up for others, even when it meant being bullied or enduring violence at home. Fear was used to silence us, but I still spoke out, even when it almost killed me. That instinct has always been in me, but I haven't always gotten it right, especially during my drinking days. I have hurt people. I've made amends to most of them. We make mistakes. We learn. We teach others. That's how the world changes. One of my favorite quotes from Maya Angelou sums it up perfectly. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. Today, I'm releasing the 5th episode of Sticky Hope Box Soapbox, which also marks 5 years of sobriety from alcohol. In just 9 days, I turned 38. I didn't think I'd make it to 33, but here I am, and I'm so proud of that. I'm grateful I'm still here, and I don't take it for granted. I have a louder voice now. Okay, we're still working on it. But I want to continue to use the voice I have rediscovered But let's keep showing up, keep listening, keep telling our stories, because courage is contagious. I may not know what the future holds, but I know this. There is hope on the other side. Stay safe, stay kind, and stay gentle with yourselves and each other. You are not alone. Until next time, please take care, love.